Hello, I'm Tom Whitkick. Welcome to the KZGN News.
From the Rademacher Hills to Bee Mountain and the mighty Sierras, Ridgecrest to Inyokern and China Lake, this is your news for the Indian Wells Valley with the KZGN News crew.
Monday we reported that State Route 178 through the Kern River Valley was temporarily closed due to a rock slide in the Kern River Canyon. It was closed due to the recent winter storm that blew through the area over the weekend. We are happy to report that Caltrans is now reporting Route 178 is completely open with no restrictions. This is good news for travelers that like to go through the canyon versus going around through Tehachapi. But either route is a beautiful route. In Washington news, recently the ATF has made recommendation to ban certain rifle ammunition. They base the ban on that the ammo will puncture through armored vest police wear. The particular problem with this ban is that many rifle rounds can puncture through armor vests, not just this one. House Majority Leader Kevin McCarthy from California and Chairman of the House Judiciary Committee Bob Goldplate released the following statement on a recent proposal from the BATF to ban the production and sale of M855 ammunition. The Obama administration sees no bounds in its attempt to push its left-wing agenda through executive fiat. After the American people's representatives have repeatedly rejected the president's policies, such as taxing carbon, this administration is again attempting to usurp constitutional power and act on its own. 2 weeks ago, in typical news dump fashion on Friday, the BATF issued an erroneous framework that, if implemented, would result in a de facto ban on common ammunition. That this ammunition is popular and affordable for American hunters and sportsmen. Because the president failed to ban certain firearms in the past, the administration is now twisting current law to go after ammunition. This is unacceptable. Not only does this framework offend procedural and statutory law, it aims to subvert the constitutional rights of millions of Americans. We condemn this administration's continued attempt to restrict the American people's ability to legally and responsibly exercise their Second Amendment rights. If the administration and ATF continue to illegitimate path, the House will keep all options on the table, including potential legislation, to ensure this proposal is not implemented. Those were comments from Congressman McCarthy. So the continued attack on Second Amendment rights continues. A California Supreme Court decision limits Jessica's Law, named in memory of Jessica Lunsford, who was abducted and sexually assaulted before being brutally murdered. Jessica's Law refers to the Jessica Lunsford Act, passed in Florida, which mandates a minimum sentence of 25 years and a maximum of life in prison for first-time child sex offenders. Board of Equalization Vice Chair and Jessica's Law author George Runner released a statement Monday criticizing the California Supreme Court for striking down mandatory residency restrictions on San Diego County sex offenders. Under Jessica's Law, without providing any alternative, today's California Supreme Court decision could allow a child molester to live across the street from a school or park where children gather, said Runner. It puts San Diego families at risk and sets a dangerous precedent for the rest of the state. Runner and his wife, former Senator Sharon Runner, authored the voter-approved Proposition 83, otherwise known as Jessica's Law. In addition to mandatory residency restrictions for sex offenders, the law includes many important public safety reforms such as strengthened sexually violent predator laws and increased parole terms. The California Supreme Court's decision only relates to the residency requirements in Jessica's Law. The voters overwhelmingly approved Jessica's Law on the November 2006 ballot, said Runner. The California Supreme Court has substituted the opinion of the court over the will of the people. Knowing sex offenders might challenge Jessica's Law, George Runner introduced Senate Bill 54 in 2010, giving local governments increased flexibility regarding residency requirements. Senator Sharon Runner took authorship of the bill in 2011. It was subsequently killed by the legislature. In its decision, the California Supreme Court has not provided local governments the flexibility to craft a more appropriate alternative for their communities. As the author of Jessica's Law, both George and Sharon Runner continue to stand behind the package of reforms that gave more California communities safer and are opposed to any efforts to undermine them. George and Sharon Runner are the authors of Jessica's Law. George currently serves as elected member of the State Board of Equalization. For more information, visit www.boe.ca.gov/runner. Assemblywoman Shannon Grove was awarded for her efforts to expand online education opportunities for California students by California Parents for Public Virtual Education. Although public online K-12 education has been around for years, bureaucratic rules still limit some students from accessing virtual education opportunities. Last year, a Grove-sponsored bill was signed into law by Governor Brown to help alleviate access issues. And this year, she introduced AB 207 to further expand opportunities. Not every student thrives within a traditional public school setting. Parents need options. They need choice, said Assemblywoman Shannon Grove. One-size-fits-all bureaucratic government needs to go. In support of her legislative work, the CPPVE awarded Grove with their Gold Apple Award. This volunteer organization is dedicated to protecting access to a quality virtual public education in California. CPPVE commented, Assemblywoman Shannon Grove has fought tirelessly for parent choice and our online students throughout California, said Nicole Carregan, CPPVE Board President. Our parent coalition strongly supports AB 207 and will engage our active membership to brief members of the state legislature about the tremendous benefits that public will get from virtual education efforts. Last year, Governor Brown signed Grove's legislation to allow online charter schools students to remain enrolled in their classes, even if they move to another part of the state in the middle of the school year. Previous law prevented this. Building on the success of last year's bill, Grove introduced AB 207 in this session to further expand student access to virtual schools. Currently, online public charter schools can only enroll students who live in the same county or in an adjacent county where the school is based. Because of vast differences in size and density among California's counties, some students who live within driving distance to an online school still cannot enroll. AB 207 seeks to expand access to any student living within 125 miles of an online school. It is essential that we serve children where they live and recognize that every child is different and learns and thrives through various forms of education, Grove said. That's why we'll continue to push for legislation that removes burdensome government regulations that limit these educational options. For more information about California Parents for Public Virtual Education, please visit www.calvirtualized.org and www.facebook.com/allvirtualized. Stay tuned, folks. Next, we'll have Critter Connection with Jolene.
Hi everyone, I'm Jolene Stein from KZGN News and I'm here with Mary and Hefner at Ridgecrest Animal Shelter. So tell me a little bit about Hefner. How old is he? What is his breed?
Hefner is a Yorkie mix. He is about 1.5 years old. He was named Hefner because he's a ladies' man. He's been here since about the beginning of February. He'd make a very good little house dog. He likes to snuggle, he likes kids, he likes other dogs, and he's not sure what cats are all about, but he's quite interested in them anyway. But he's got a sweet little terrier personality, and he's looking to go home with somebody, hopefully this week.
Okay, and if somebody is interested in adopting him or any other pet that is here at Ridgecrest Animal Shelter, is there a location, a number, an online site, or anything?
Yeah, you can meet not only Hefner, but all the animals that we have here at the animal shelter. Our address is 411 San Bernardino Boulevard. Our phone number is 760-499-5190. We're open Tuesday through Friday, 11 to 5, Saturday, 10 to 4. And you can see a lot of our animals on our Ridgecrest Animal Shelter Facebook site, as well as our site, which is ridgecrest.petfinder.com.
Okay, thank you, Mary.
You're very welcome.
Recently, KZGN-TV had an opportunity to speak with Sandy Rogers of the Mattawamkeag Museum. Rogers is a retired physicist and engineer from China Lake. Rogers has a master's in archaeological anthropology with 3 specialties: hunter-gatherer cultures of the Great Basin, rock art, and obsidian hydration dating. Rogers explained to us about how they are dating the petroglyphs found in our area. The desert air with water and minerals over time creates a varnish-like effect on the figures etched in the rock, resulting in multi-shades of gray. He said 50 Shades of Gray is about the formation of the now 1,000-year-old childlike petroglyphs in our local area. The stick figures are a connection to the Native American ancestral heritage preserved in multi-light and dark shades of gray basaltic rock. He then explained how desert air with water and minerals over time creates a varnish-like effect on the figures etched in the rock, resulting in multi-shades of gray. Rogers said obsidian, the black volcanic glass found abundantly in our local area, is used to determine the date of an archaeological site through a very slow process of water absorption. When asked to compare hydration dating to radiocarbon dating, he said radiocarbon dating tends to be more accurate. However, we don't have radiocarbon dating here in the desert, but we do have obsidian and lots of it. When asked to compare the preservation of the petroglyphs to the metamorphosis of rock, Rogers explained metamorphosis was different and more similar to the fossilization process of bone. He said it differed from the preservation process of chipping into the gray basaltic rock. As in the case of our petroglyphs, he said the light gray basaltic rock begins to darken as light and water creates a varnish of gray, and is why the figures are found to be lighter than the dark outside. He clarified that the water was from the outside rain rather than water flowing through the rock, and said over time the lighter etched figure begins to darken and sun and rain creates the desert varnish. In 50 more or less shades of gray, we can date the petroglyphs here in the Indian Wells Valley. KZGN appreciates this interesting information about the petroglyphs and share it to us by Mattawamkeag Museum archaeologist Sandy Rogers. In local Sierra Sands School District information, have you ever wondered how Burroughs High School ranks when compared to all their high schools in California and even the country? Well, it turns out that Burroughs is really a very high-ranked high school. They actually rank quite high both in California and the United States. U.S. News reports that out of 2,026 high schools in California, Burroughs ranks 394. While 394 might not seem that great to some, think about it. When you consider the hundreds of high schools that are charter or magnet schools, 394 is really a very decent ranking. In many of these charter schools, people pay thousands of dollars per month to send their kids there. $1,500 to $2,000 per month is not uncommon for these high-rated high schools. And let's take it a step further. Where does Burroughs rank nationally? Well, nationally, Burroughs ranks 1854. That is 1854 out of 31,242 high schools in the country. That puts Burroughs in the 95th position in the country. Yes, 95th percentile in the country. And in California, they are in the 80th percentile. So next time you may be wondering about how good high school is for our kids here, remember these statistics. Again, these rankings come from U.S. News and World Reports. In today's stock market news, stocks continue their flat trading. What has happened this week is that today the numbers came out from the jobs market, and they were expected to be around 250,000 new jobs created, yet only 220,000 jobs have been reported. So the market is staying flat trying to digest the numbers coming out. The Dow Jones is trading flat, just slightly down by 0.74 and sitting at 18,069. The NASDAQ is also trading down at 0.31, sitting at 4964. And finally, the S&P is moving down, again at 0.57, sitting at 2095. So the NASDAQ is not hitting that magic 5,000 that we've been looking for all week. Stay tuned for sports and weather after this break. Thanks for staying with us. And now we'll go over to Keith for the weather.
Thank you, Tom. This is our long-range weather prediction, courtesy of Weather Bell. Currently, on the East Coast, Maine is at 29 degrees. Massachusetts, 41 degrees. Cheyenne, Wyoming, 16 degrees. Utah is around 38 degrees. New Mexico hit 50 degrees. Arizona is around 70. Nevada, whole whopping 48 degrees. 54 degrees in Washington. 60 degrees in southern Oregon. And for us on the West Coast, we're just below 70 degrees all along the coast. Our local weather, on the other hand, tonight will be clear with a low around 41, light north wind becoming northwest 5 miles to 10 miles per hour. Friday will be sunny with a high near 72, which means we are, from the looks of it, are warming up for the rest of the weekend. So it should be pleasant. Northwest wind around 5 miles per hour becoming northeast in the morning. Friday night will be clear with a low around 42, northeast wind around 5 miles per hour. Saturday will be sunny with a high near 76. Northwest wind around 5 miles per hour. Saturday night will be mostly clear with a low of 43. East-southeast wind around 5 miles per hour. And on Sunday will be sunny with a high near 78 degrees. T-shirt weather, folks. That's all I can say. That's what's coming for us. So enjoy. And now, back to Tom and the rest of your news. Good evening.
Thanks a lot, Keith. And now the sports with Tom Hecht.
And a very pleasant Wednesday afternoon to everybody. Good news for Burroughs High School baseball and softball. The varsity boys baseball team went over to Tehachapi, did well on the mountain. They beat Tehachapi 15-5. And the JV team also did well. They doubled up the score on Tehachapi. They went 8-4. In softball, the girls' varsity softball team got off to a 5-0 lead. They scored all 5 in the first inning. They hung on, and they defeated Tehachapi 5-4. A couple of great catches defensively by the Burroughs in that game. The JVs also won for the Burroughs. Okay, let's talk about NCAA basketball a little bit. Top 20. Maryland defeated Rutgers. Maryland's won 6 in a row. They're playing very well. North Carolina all over Georgia Tech, 81-49. Kentucky survives. They won their 30th game in a row last night. They defeated Georgia in Athens. Now, that game was tied at halftime at 32. In fact, Kentucky trailed a good portion of the second half, but like always, they came back in a big way. They end up winning 72-64. Now, at 30-0, they're the 4th Division I team ever to win 30 games in a row. And that has not been done since 1976 when Indiana did it. Rutgers did it in 1975. Also, Kansas survived last night. The number 8 team in the nation beat the number 21 team, West Virginia, in overtime. Now, Kansas was down by 16 at the half. They trailed the entire game. They tied the game in the last 20-some seconds and went on to win in overtime. Bob Huggins, you got a feel for him, the head coach of West Virginia. West Virginia blew the lead. They had chances galore to put them away, but just couldn't do it. And in front of that Allen Fieldhouse capacity crowd going crazy, the Jayhawks come out with the win. All right, Georgetown defeats Butler. Butler was 21. They're going to sink a little bit in the top 25. Well, it's the tournament time of the year, and some of the smaller conferences are opening up their tournaments. The Atlantic Sun got underway. Now, again, these are automatic bids, so the team that wins these conferences goes to the big dance, the NCAA tournament. Florida Gulf Coast, a winner. South Carolina Upstate, a winner. David Lipscomb, a winner. And North Florida, a winner. That's from the Atlantic Sun Conference. Okay, also, if you're an Army-Navy fan, basketball, football, or whatever, anytime those two get together, it's rivalry, no matter what sport it is. Navy bested Army last night in college basketball, and Eastern Michigan over Ball State. Okay, NBA, the Kings big over the Knicks, 124-86. The Bulls 97, the Wizards 92. The Hornets beat the Lakers by 1. Boy, the Lakers have been playing much better lately. They had won 3 in a row before losing to Oklahoma City on Sunday night, and they played well down in Charlotte before losing that game. All right, the Hawks, they win again. They beat the Rockets by 8 points. Mike Budenholzer, best record in the East, second-year head coach, longtime assistant with the Spurs. All right, let's talk about firings. Brian Shaw, former Laker assistant. former player at UC Santa Barbara, former Los Angeles Laker, longtime assistant to Phil Jackson. In fact, he was there, I believe, 5 or 6 years on the bench with Phil Jackson. And he was fired yesterday at Denver. His record not too good this year, not too good last year. Melvin Hunt has been named the interim head coach. They've not really done very well since George Karl. They let him go 2 years ago. George Karl just got picked up by Sacramento. He's now the Kings head coach. That happened after the All-Star break. Okay, the Jazz beat the Grizzlies, a little bit of an upset there, 93-82, and the Cavaliers demolished the Celtics, 110-76. That game played in Cleveland. LeBron, 23 points in that game, and Kevin Love, 12 points also. Okay, let's take a look at the top 5 of the NCAA. Kentucky, 30-0, Virginia, 28-1, Duke, 26-3, Villanova, 25-2. Wildcats having a great year. And the other Wildcats, the Arizona Wildcats, likewise 26-3. Wisconsin 26-3 also. Okay, NHL, the Ducks a winner last night. They beat the Coyotes. The Kings also get a win. And in the NFL, Chip Kelly, former coach of Oregon, guess who he wants in the draft? He wants Marcus Mariota, the Heisman Trophy winner, the former Oregon star. We'll see what happens. We'll see where he ends up. Boy, Chip Kelly, great record at Oregon. Done a pretty good job with the Eagles. Eagles, I thought, would be in the playoffs this year. They just fell apart towards the end. Folks, that's your sports on this Wednesday. I'm Tom Heck for KZGN.
So that's the news for today. All of us at KZGN-TV know you have a choice for what you watch for news. We all thank you for choosing KZGN-TV, Ridgecrest's only community TV station.